What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Trout Wrangler Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Garrity. It is Friday, May 16th at 4:15, and we got two special guests today. A lot of guys that I've talked to say that they start out bass fishing, and then they go, once you get into one of them, you get into all types of fishing. I think we can all agree on that. And we got two awesome guys from Florida. I'll let them introduce themselves and a little bit of what they do.
I'm Paul Hilson.
I'm Brandon Pilling.
We run Mission Fishing. We're a bass fishing charter, but we do all kinds of fishing. We saltwater fish. I do a little bit of fly, but we fish all over Florida, from the Keys, East Coast, West Coast. But yeah, primarily right now it's just on the lakes. It's a little busy, so right now it's all bass fishing all the time.
Oh yeah, dude! I think you guys are in the capital of bass fishing down in Florida. I lived down there for 2 years, and there are days where I'm like, damn, I'm up fishing for spotted bass on Lake Norman that are this big, and it's like, I wish I never ever left Florida. I'm gonna go tomorrow, and I'm probably my biggest fish is gonna be like 3 pounds.
Well, that's 3 pounds is a good fish.
That is a good fish.
You
don't have the opportunity. Some places you don't have the opportunity for that double digit, that 8-pounder.
Exactly.
But you can always find places with numbers. So.
Oh yeah, that's always fun too. It's like, but you know what? You want at least a 4 or 3 mixed in with 150 little turd spots like that. But
yeah.
The name Mission Fishing. What's the story behind it? How'd you guys come up with it?
So in the end of 2019, I worked for a large entertainment conglomerate, and I got laid off. And so it was like May, I got laid off, and my wife and I were just sitting around the house doing nothing. And the December before, so December of 2019, I had gone down to the Keys. I had quit fishing because work had become so much that I just didn't have the opportunity to. I actually sold my boat, sold all my stuff. I think I had 1 rod, a couple bags of worms. And I was pretty diehard, but a good friend of mine passed away. And when he did, I couldn't get back out there. And it was just one of those things. So May, we're sitting around the house, and we would just sit in the pool all day long because you couldn't really go do anything. And in December, we had been in the Keys fishing, and my brother-in-law, Garrett, he said, I want to go bass fishing. Well, this place that I've been fishing, the same lake we fish now, I've been fishing since 95. So I knew, come up, let's go. So he came up in May, and the day before I was like thinking about, starting a business because COVID had everything shut down. And it was like, okay, fiberglass work or, something, because I'm a fiberglass guy. So I was like, okay, Garrett's coming up. We're supposed to fish tomorrow. So the night before, I kind of said a prayer, and I was like, God, please, if I catch any fish, if I catch even one, then I'm going to execute on this idea. But if you don't want me to do this, then skunk us, right? So we show up. We had a pontoon boat, no trolling motor. We had 1 rod apiece, and I think we had a bag of I can't remember the color, but it's like a blue with a red with some silver flakes and some trick worms. That was it. And those were watermelon red. And so we go out, and Garrett's fishing, and he catches a fish, and I'm literally, the motor stayed on the whole time. I was just controlling it and backing us up and moving us forward. We ended up catching 43 fish, which was like, okay, yeah. So I get in the truck, I call my dad, and I told him I wanted the bass cat, and we made a deal right there on the phone. I get home, and I told my wife, I know what I want to start. And I still didn't have a name. Like, I didn't have any idea of what to call it. But we were in a church at the time that was a very missionary heavy church. So I was like, thinking missions the whole time. And I told her I want to start a bass fishing charter, and she's like, "Okay, what are you going to call it?" And I just, God, what am I going to call it? And it just hit me, Mission Fishing, and it stuck. So we kind of did some research, and that's how it got started. And what we do is every charter we contribute a percentage to one missionary in Northwest Africa. The project's called the 1040 Project. He drills fresh water wells, builds feeding centers, orphanages, runs sports programs, and then does church planting. And we've been working with him for 5 years now. But prior to that, I had known him for about 10 years. So it's just one of those things that was like heavy for me to give back. So we started. I got the Bass Cat. It went immediately to Lakeland to be wrapped, and then we just kept going. And,
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool. And I honestly, Ryan, I would have told anyone who asked me, how long do you think you'll be around? And I would have given it 3 years. Like, that's it. 3 years. We probably won't be doing it anymore. And for nothing but, maintenance and equipment and things like that. Like, everything breaks, you're going to have to replace stuff. But here we are 5 years later, and we just expanded. When did we do that? November? December.
Yep.
So now we have the Bass Cat, and we also have, what is it, a 2005
Blazer.
Yeah.
That's a fast boat.
Yeah.
That's a scary fast boat too.
It's just got such low draft. It seems like it just gets up and goes. But we both run Lowrance's trolling motors. We run Garmin LBS 34s, and then the right height turrets, and fish with
St. Croix rods, 7 reels, all the best Japanese tackle there is, all the good stuff.
Sweet.
That's what's cool too, is like it's not just a charter. A lot of charters down here, they just go get live shiners or live bait or whatever, but not us, because that's not really fishing. So we use artificial lures solely, which kind of adds like an extra challenge, if you will, to the experience.
We like to fool them.
Oh yeah.
And we like to teach people how to do it too, right? Like, and not that we know everything, because we don't. Matter of fact, the more I fish, the more I learn. I don't know everything. You know what I mean? Like today,
for everybody.
The guy that came out, he has this trick he does with his worms, and I didn't see a lot of fish on it, but I don't think that it doesn't work. It just was one of those days where it was kind of, once the sun got high up in the sky, they just shut down. When he and I first got there, we got out early. It was on fire. I think we caught 8 fish in the first 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
But this lake is really special. It's only 557 acres. We're the only 2 guys allowed to fish it. And that you won't see another bass boat. You won't see anything but our 2 bass boats out there. Now they do run jet skis. They do have pontoon boats and ski boats, wake boats. But we fish out of a place called Paradise Cove, which is a wedding venue, and they also have Buena Vista Water Sports, where you can rent jet skis, kayaks, paddle boards. So it's a super nice location. And like I said, I've been fishing there since '95, and I've seen the lake go through some changes. There used to be a lot of grass. Now it's just a big mud bowl, essentially.
Yeah, they nuke all the grass.
No,
well, kind of.
Yeah, they did it nature's way. He put a bunch of grass carpet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They sterile at least?
Well, I think they were supposed to be, but I know personally there's some in there that are small, so they couldn't have all been sterile.
Yeah, that's usually no bueno, but
there's not a huge population.
That's good. That's good.
The bass population is by
Massive.
far dominant, and the gar population is actually a lot bigger than we thought.
Dang.
Forward facing shown us a lot of that.
Dang. Dude, yeah, that I know personally, when I was living in Florida, so I was living 10 minutes from the Harris chain.
Yeah.
Like all Helena Run, not Helena Run, what was that cove between Griffin and Harris? I forget what it was, but they nuked all the grass in there, and apparently they're doing it to Lake Pan right now too.
Yeah, a lot of times they use aquathol, and it takes a few weeks, but it just everything is gone.
Yeah, and it sucks.
It's bad, but it's not. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. Don't get me wrong. I love fishing grass lakes, and Florida has a ton of them. But I feel like there's a lot of presentations you can't use when the grass is super heavy.
I agree.
But man, now we fish everything. Like his is the swim jig. I'm jerk bait heavy right now. I'm just loving throwing jerk baits. The Nishine Erie is just unbelievable. And then when I catch it on a Realis, I think it was a Realis.
Yeah.
I caught an 8-pounder 2 Fridays ago using forward facing. Didn't see that fish. We were actually chasing schoolers, and you could see a lot of schooling bass. And then I just picked it up and threw it. And then all of a sudden off the bottom, this blob just comes up and like, oh, what's that? You know, and then bang. And then it was like this. I'm like, oh, that's a good one, you know, kind of. But that's what you say every fish, right?
Yeah, I say it. I'll hook one. It could be like a 1-pounder. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. And then I'm like, wait, no, it's not.
12-ounce miniature 12-pounder, and you think, oh, this is massive.
You go to boat flip it, and it goes over your head.
But when this thing jumped out of the water, it was like this. And I wish my GoPro or his GoPro would have been on, but it was like this instant state of panic.
Get the net.
Yeah. And then, you know, everybody's digging in every compartment looking for the net. So, but it changes the way you fish, right? So I was there when it had a lot of grass, and there's old stuff on YouTube. The guy that passed away, Kevin, that I was talking about, his channel's still there. It's called Orlando Trophy Bass, and he was the original charter in the lake. I was just free fishing it, but once we got to be friends, I started helping him out because he had cystic fibrosis. So when he couldn't take a charter, I would take it. And you don't have to have the captain's license there because it's
non-navigable.
Yeah, non-navigable. So I would help him out. But that's what, through the way I fished, they had the at the time it was the Minn Kota Power Drive, which is the first, as far as I know, the first remote control trolling motor, and that's really what kind of stepped the game up and got us where we're at. Like, so when we're on charters, we don't fish, you fish, you're up front, and now it's this sort of amalgamation of teaching people how to use the forward facing, and we've got some structure. There's some natural structure that's there. We've built these structures out of corrugated, like French drain pipe. And man, it's phenomenal.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I know, dude, like FWC will drop those. I don't like I used to have hummingbirds, and I had the Mega Down. I'd draft their fish attractors. I couldn't even tell what they were.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the LBS 34, and I mean, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that, first of all. And how do you feel about it?
What, live scope?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the people who are crying about it are not using it right.
I agree.
It is so much fun. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
It is like one of the most fun things to do, is to see the fish react to your lure and then catch them on it.
I think most of the people that are crying, and pardon my French, bitching and moaning about it, it's, if you look like under all the bass match, like especially this week, they're not saying anything because they're fishing the Sabine, and everybody's up in the dirt, and John Cox is winning it throwing a Max Scent General.
But that's what he does, right?
Yeah, that's his bread and butter.
Right. I mean, he's from right up the street, and if I go out and I can see fish, like I still have it, a Ray Marine Element 9, and it shows you bait fish, it shows you different sizes of fish based on color, and I can catch fish on that. You don't see them, coming up, but you're catching fish, they're there. But when they're failing, when I'm not getting a bite in deep water, I'm going shallow. That's just how we do it.
I feel like in places like, you see it here a lot, like North Carolina, Florida. If you can't get on a good deep bite, you can always rely on catching fish up shallow year round.
Yeah, and always in the shade and always on structure. We have one whole, like, I don't know, it's probably at least half.
Yeah.
Is nothing but cypress. I mean, it's literally cypress and 3 to 4 feet of water. So no matter what, you're going to catch fish there. His personal best came right next to bulrushes and cypress.
Yeah.
Both of my personal bests have come out of 12 foot of water or more. And really what changed that for me was Humminbird put out this, there was the 929 and the 727 CI, which was the side imaging.
Yeah.
And when I first saw side imaging, I was like, okay, I've been missing all of this. And that's what made me kind of go into, offshore fishing. And there was a grass flat there that was 9 foot of water with 2 foot of submerged grass. And like literally you could just scoop bass out of there. And it was just one after the next. I think the best day we had, it was 100 plus fish. I ended up getting an infection in my hand from just lipping bass and getting an open door. But, that's the deal. So for me, John Cox is one of those guys that it's versatility.
Oh, yeah. Who's the other guy from right there? And he's from DeLand, right?
I think John Cox.
Cox is, yeah.
Who's his buddy? He's from DeLand, I think, too. He fished the MPFL a couple years ago. And I think he fishes the elites now. Another 10 rig guy. Shoot, I'd have to look it up. Let's see.
I will say this: there's a lot of guys down here that are just hammers.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
When you're down here and you're fishing it regularly, you get locked into what they're doing, and you can't go wrong. The big fish don't always bite, right? Some people are just lucky, I think, or blessed, but you see them react to this stuff now, and it's insane.
Yeah, I feel like the live scope has kind of changed the learning curve for a lot of people, and it's also changed the way, I don't know, for us, it's changed the way we like understand the bass's behavior.
Yeah,
a lot. Everyone was, main leg points, wind bone points, all this stuff, which works. But then when you go with live scope, you go out into the middle of
and they're there
of nowhere. They're there.
Yeah, it took
increase,
I think, I used to have a lot of the Bassmaster magazines where you'd read the articles and go, oh, if the barometric pressure's low and you've got cloud cover, you should be fishing here. And that, in your head, that worked and you caught fish. But I think live scope kind of took a lot of that document, if you will, and just balled it up and threw it away.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, right. And
exactly.
I think that's kind of like why people are upset, right? Because
yeah. And it's 95% of the time when you look at it and the people that are always all over Facebook complaining about it, it's a dude in like his late 70s.
Yeah.
And
that's funny that you say that. I'm 50 and he's 34, and he is, how long you been fishing now?
Like 3 years.
Yeah. And I've been fishing since I was a little kid. And I watched him today put on a clinic, and it was like, my clients were like, did he just catch another? Yeah, he just caught another. I had to tell him he uses this all the time, right? He's out there using this. He probably uses the live scope more than I do. I'm getting better at it, but there's definitely a learning curve to it. And that's the other thing too. It's very frustrating. And I feel like that's another thing. People buy it and then they don't know how to use it, so they get frustrated. And one of the things I noticed for me is I could see, when you start watching your bait hit the water and then using baits that don't reflect well, because that's a big thing. The Ocho, for one, that's a big deal. The angles on that bait completely reflect that sonar, so you see it that much better.
Yeah, but unless you do your research, nobody tells you like why this works so good. Everyone's like, oh, the jig head minnow. If you just take it and throw it out there, like any jig head with a minnow on it, you're not gonna see it.
Right.
I mean, unless you're just dialed in.
So allow me this minute to kind of plug something. Echo bait.
Yep.
Echo bait's awesome, man. They make this. it's a ball head jig, but they cut out a little section of it. And when you throw that, you see that hit the water, it throws back this return that there's no mistaking that's what it is. And if you're not sure, twitch a little bit and you're like, oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you do that, and I think we both noticed, the fish that are gonna bite, the fish that are gonna get hooked are super aggressive. Ones that kind of hang back and look, you can put it right on them and take it off, and they might follow it. But if they didn't commit, you see commitment. Like,
oh yeah.
They, so I think that's where people get frustrated. Just because you see your bait, just because you see the fish, just because you're around them, doesn't necessarily always mean you're going to catch them. And that holds true for what used to be as well,
Oh yeah.
I talked to a guy that before I got mine about it, and I said, everybody's upset about it. And he said, yeah, but all they did was take a flasher and turn it forward.
That's true. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
That's completely true.
Yeah. But, at the same time, we didn't have the technology back then to put it on a screen that way. You have to have the communications box to kind of decipher the information, put it up in front of you. And then there's the whole 2D aspect of it. The guy today said that, oh, I understand. This is where it landed. This is where the fish are. It's coming at me. Right. And then, explaining to him, okay, here's your depth. Here's your length. Once you start kind of getting it that way. So a couple of guys that we were doing some work with, they have a YouTube channel called Ballistic High Speed, Bryce and Adam. And they came down and fished with us. And Bryce had not fished since he was like 9 years old. Once he understood what was going on, this guy was scoping fish left and right. And it was like, he gets it better than I do.
Yeah.
And I was putting him in holes that were like 22 feet deep. And he was watching his bait. And he would actually let it sink way off, in this side of the screen and then watch it. And then as he would get close to him, and I was like, bro, you got this. I think he caught 6 or 7 fish like that.
Damn.
And then Adam was on his boat, and they were just seeing at the bottom just lumps. That was it, just like little lumps on the bottom. And they were throwing, what were you guys throwing?
I was the Ocho. Yeah,
the
Ocho. It was just wacky rig, throwing it out there, and Adam caught the big fish of the day. It was like 5.5 pounds.
Yeah. So there's this learning curve, and I feel like just like when the cell phone came out, you had the flip phone, and people were still using a rotary phone. I don't like that thing.
Yeah.
Like the internet, when I'm old enough to remember when that happened. So to see that kind of take place, it's the exact same argument that people have for technology all the time. They don't like it because it's new.
Right.
And that's really what it is. I feel like it's going to be a game changer. It already has been. People are cashing checks on it. And the other thing that's kind of, look, why did we start in the first place? Why did you start fishing?
It's because I loved it.
Because it's fun.
Yeah, it's
right?
fun.
And it's a great getaway. And that's really what we try to focus on when we take people out. We just want you to have fun. The soul of fishing. It's not about the cash grab. It's not about, granted, having the ability to get this stuff to enhance that experience. That's why people make it. They want your time in the water to be better. And, now you have all this negativity floating around, and it kind of stinks.
It does stink, dude. And I hate to see it because it's like a lot of the guys that they're bashing and the guys that they're just like Easton Fothergill, for example. They're calling him all sorts of names. It's like, dude, you probably haven't said 2 words to that kid. You don't know the story of what he went through.
Right.
And it's like,
and then, people don't even realize these guys spend 240 something days a year on the road.
Right.
That's not easy. I don't want to travel at all. Right. Like it's 35 minutes to my lake. Sometimes that's a drag, but I know I'm going fishing, so I'll do it.
Right.
These guys are staking everything on it. Maybe you cash a check, maybe you don't. I thought that the forward facing was great because that, in my eyes, kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, where it allowed somebody new to get into it. But you're going to have people that hate it. You can't catch fish all the time on it. So you better know how to fish. You better know how to set a hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it boils back down to like, I think about this kind of regularly. It's like if those guys weren't on the pro tours and anything, and they still had the forward facing or whatever, they're still gonna go out and fish because it's fun.
Oh yeah, exactly.
They'll still be fishing, no
Oh
matter
yeah.
how, whether it's flipping heavy cover or out deep. It's fun. However you like to catch it, it's fun. That's all that matters.
I think if I wish more people were able to hear what I'm about to talk about. So I was at a fishing show up here in it was Angler's Choice Marine over in it's in the mountains kinda, and my buddy's sister asked me if I wanted to set up a booth at their show, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. Hank Parker ended up being there and speaking. So first thing, it was an older guy asked him, "What do you think about forward facing sonar?" And he was like, "Honestly, he's like, I love it." He was like, "I was on the lake with Britt Myers Jr. You know Britt Myers who fishes MLF. He's got the big wrap truck on like literally massive tires. He's got all the his son. I'm actually kind of buddies with his son. Hank Parker went out with him, and he's like, that little boy Britt Myers can use forward facing sonar like nobody I've ever seen. And he's like, once I watched him use that, he's like, I'm never gonna say a negative thing about forward facing sonar ever again, and nobody else should either.
Parker, right? So that's the legacy and the lineage of the industry, right? Those are the guys. Roland Martin, Hank Parker, man, I can't even think of his name. Bill Dance, right? Jimmy Houston. Those guys are all using it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So what's wrong with it? Now, granted, those guys are going to go out and they're going to slam fish no matter where they go.
Oh, yeah.
But I just think, like, you know, Garmin came out with this, and then everybody followed, and it was something to make it more enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? That's why they have these shirts, so you don't burn up out there.
Yeah.
Shirt out there, right? It's why you have the hat. It's why you have,
sunglasses. Yeah, exactly.
Hobie. What's up, Hobie?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Baggio.
No, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
But, I feel like, and rod technology's come a long way, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, line technology. Fluorocarbon changed the game, right? Lures. The Japanese are so good at what they do that, like, I don't know how I didn't use their stuff earlier. Now, granted, there's been the Japanese stuff out for a long time, but they just Duo, Realis, Raid, Imakatsu. I'll tell you what, Hiroshi Nishine makes one heck of a lure, man. If you guys haven't fished with Nishine lures, go get them.
Dude, it's the same thing with, like, their big swim baits are unbeatable. Like Depths. Duo's making them now.
Depths has been around for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So, so those are the things that, like, if you're paying attention and you really get into this, like we do, I mean, I know I spend a lot of time online looking at stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of money, right? I spent a lot of money on tackle, and I'm thankful to the Lord that, like, I have the ability to go get this stuff. And it's great for me, and I'm sure for him, when we take someone out that's never done it at this level, it just changes everything for him.
You remember when the jackhammer first came out and people were buying them up left and right? One of my buddies gave me the OG Japanese jackhammer with the Mojo blade, and it was solely built by Evergreen. And he's like, go and buy as many of these as you can.
Yeah.
And I was like, he sent me a link to some Japanese site, and I was buying the piss out of them.
Yeah. And the coolest thing about that is that once it hits, now you have all these different versions. You got the slobber knocker.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got their version of it, which is cool because it's the innovation that takes place throughout the industry that makes it better for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, I just want people to have a good time. It's such a great break from everything, the traffic, your job, whatever is getting you down. I guarantee. Well, and it's not that way for everyone, but for me, I got to get on the water. And I surfed a bunch as a kid. Like, I grew up surfing, and inevitably when it was flat, you fished, So that's just where it started for me. But the negativity's got to stop,
It
And then
does.
most recently, what was the guy's name? I can't even think of his name. I don't want to say his name. I just remembered it, but I'm not going to say it. The guy that was down here in Sarasota.
Oh yeah.
Man, there's a reason for that. And then to find out that it was 4 days earlier that the initial incident took place, and then he came back, and then the fact that none of his buddies said a thing to him, that was like, come on, man.
Yeah. Dude, there's been a bunch of stuff that like I've seen coming out of Florida. Have you seen the other one? The kid in like the tower, the Freeman? And he's all hammered and liquored up. And he's telling FWC to F themselves.
Yeah. You haven't seen that yet?
No.
That one's crazy.
There's no need for that, right? Like,
yeah.
Dude, you're here to have a good time. If that's your idea of a good time and you end up in trouble, then you probably were going to end up in trouble whether you were at a Pokemon meet.
Right.
It's one of those things.
It's nuts.
No.
I
lost my train of thought.
but I feel like, the whole thing around fishing, if you've ever read The Old Man and the Sea or, any of those books or you got into like sportsman's magazines like Bass or, any of the old saltwater stuff, there was a romanticism to it that's what led me to it. Like, It's just you versus the fish. That was like, and then to try and go out and hunt these big fish down, it's hard. It's like deer hunting or turkey
exactly
hunting. So
it's a puzzle.
Yeah, right.
That's good. Yeah,
it's a giant puzzle. That's what me and my buddy always talk about. I was talking to my buddy on the phone earlier because we're going. Like I was just telling y'all, we're going tomorrow, and he's like, "We should go run up a river," and I was like, "They got to be pulling water to go up a river." He's like, "Yeah, you're right." I was like, we'll go and junk fish. I'm gonna put a crankbait and a shaky head in my hand, and we'll go to town. We'll figure something out.
Dude. I love shaky head fishing.
I do too.
What's your weather like up there? What's your temperatures like?
90 degrees right now.
We got 93 today.
Mm-hmm.
What's your water temps?
I haven't seen yet. So I was living in an apartment, not in the greatest area. It used to be super nice.
Right.
And all of my rods got stolen out of my truck after a Wednesday nighter. Popped my I had like Fitzgerald's that you couldn't really find anymore, like, and all they left me with was an extra heavy, like a A-rig rod, and then one spinning rod, and like a Carolina rig rod.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, are you serious? I was like, I had all these rods you can't even find anymore. I brought all my tackle inside. I only have 3 rods left, and one of them's an extra heavy that I'm like, I had it for mat punching when I was living down there.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need this rod for anything that I'm doing up here. I use it as like a big glide bait rod.
Yeah. The cool thing about, I think one of the cool things that we've found is that when you're using forward facing, you could get away with 3 rods.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, easily. No, you get away with 1 rod.
Yeah.
To be honest. Last week we caught like 33 fish. I only took 1 rod out.
And we were only out there for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Have you guys been seeing the forward facing sonar line that they're starting to come out with?
What's that?
The
rod?
It's a braid.
Yeah, the braid where it's like your backing braid. It's crazy.
I don't see a need for it.
Yeah,
I don't either.
That's a scam. There's a lot of things that are, if you do it right from the beginning, like fishing with the right lure so you can see it, you don't need a line that you can see. You know?
Exactly.
You don't need to add like metal flake or whatever to your lure. Like they have these like scent things that you can like put on and metal flake. You don't need that.
And honestly, I'll tell you right off the bat, when we got this, one of the first things I said to him, I said, just in my experience in fishing, every time you buy something to make that experience better, there's like 10 peripherals that are from someone else to make that experience better. And sure enough, it's true, right? So,
one that I bought into big when I was like in high school fishing tournaments. I hate to name drop the company, but it's Livingston, where they had the Gunnersville one, and they showed Randy Howell winning the Classic on it when he was throwing a Demon DT6.
I'll tell you right now, I love my what is it called? The walking ball.
Dude, that is a great walking bait. Yeah, that thing's sweet.
And it squeaks like crazy. And years later, it still makes noise.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I found one. I found one in like the toolbox of my truck, and I licked my fingers and touched the two O-rings. I'm like, oh my god, it still works. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, those are. But for the forward facing, one of the things that I think, because I use the Lowrance Ghost. When you spot lock, if your transducer's on there, it's like
yeah,
and you're never gonna be able to focus on it. So I was like, man, I'm gonna get the DD26 live foot, and I started looking at different options, and then they have the handheld one, Sniper Marine or whoever makes that one. I'm like, I hate having to adjust a handle. So I started looking, I found Right Height, and that's a Paul Elias thing. And I've always thought that guy's,
Paul Elias is the man.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, if it's good enough for Paul Elias, it's got to be good enough for Paul Hilson.
Yeah.
So I started doing some research, and we went ahead and got them. We installed them. Super easy to install. My boat was really easy. His boat was a little more difficult, but
that was a wiring thing.
Yeah, it was just a wiring issue. But once we got it dialed in, there's a little bit of a learning curve to that. But once literally, I can spot lock. The spot lock's going to move you a little bit, but you're always able to touch the pedal and pull right back in. And that has been a game changer for me. And, but again, another $1,000. So you spent, what you spent for the forward facing, which is not cheap. No. And I think that's a big part of the negativity too, is it's an economic divide. But for anyone who's watching, if you don't buy the new rod, if you don't buy the new reel, if you don't buy the new lures, and you put that money aside, forward facing can be yours.
Right. It can.
And that's, there's a bit of discipline to it. But, for me, it's been a game changer. And I knew it would be, right? Like,
dude. It's like we all watched it. We all watched Hank Cherry, there's a guy around here, win that. That was before forward-facing sonar was even out. When they were showing him ripping that jerkbait through that grass at Gunnersville, just absolutely hammering on it.
Yeah, and the guy's a stand-up guy too, right? Like
he is.
He's a good dude. I think a lot of these guys are just good dudes. They're just good Americans who go out, God-fearing Americans who go out just trying to have fun. But the difference is they wager everything on this. So hats off to all those guys that are pros, right? Like they drive the industry, they drive the revenue. When people see it, they go, "Oh, Hank Cherry was throwing that jerkbait. I need that jerkbait."
Yeah, so, that dude's brilliant too. He doesn't live too far from me here, and you used to see that dude on the lake. It could be windy as all get out. That dude's out there whipping a jerkbait.
Yep.
He's a competitor too.
Right now, windy days.
Yeah, windy, overcast days that can't beat the jerkbait.
Well, what was it? It was I think it was. It might have been who said it. Somebody said it's like the wind is your friend.
Yeah,
and it is. Whether you're throwing a jerkbait or a big spinner bait.
Even before forward facing.
Yeah,
I'm a big proponent of fishing in as much wind as I could because I know it pushes all the detritus, all of your microorganisms, your warm waters, moving to the surface, and then those bait fish are chasing that, and what's chasing the bait fish. And once you get that pattern down, you're going to kill it, even on like cold days. So I have a client who they've been out, I think 7 or 8 times now since I started. And when they first started fishing with me, it's a father and son. The son was mediocre, like he could cast, but he wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
And through the times that he's been out with me, this kid is a hammer now. We went out on December 26th, 2 years ago, freezing cold, and David, the father, said, I don't want to be in the wind at all because it's too cold. And I was like, all right. 2 hours later, they had only boated 2 fish. And I was like, listen, just like life, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to get uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
So let's fish the wind. So we went clear to the other side where the wind was howling, like 20-mile-an-hour winds. I spot lock. I hand Ian a rod with a red shad Senko on it. He pitches it up by some structure. And then I'm rigging Dad up. And just as I hand David his rod, I hear, and I turn around and look, and he's like, oh, I'm hung on a pylon. And out of nowhere, that just rips off into open water. And I'm like, whoa, start reeling. 7-pound fish. And that's his personal best. And now, just stuff I've told him, stuff I've done to get better, like casting at buckets and stuff like that. He actually does it. And the kid has gotten so good. Not the last trip we were on, because we were filming with that one, but the time before that, I saw a bass tail by some cypress. I saw him just chase some minnows up there and then tail back over by the cypress. And I said, oh, just to the left of that cypress, like if you can land right there. And he just, and as soon as it hit the water, the fish took it. And he was like, oh, no way. And it was just mind blowing for me that a kid that I saw that was just capable of, like, this was his cast and it ended up way over there. Now this kid is throwing in like with surgical precision. And because he's done this stuff like casting at buckets or casting at cups or just going out and, everyone, Michael Jordan, dude, the guy did nothing but practice. And if you're practicing, you're going to get better.
Oh, yeah.
He times everything.
Kobe Bryant, same thing.
Yeah.
It's cool watching that progression with kids.
This guy. Seriously, when I first met him, what were you throwing the day before you met me?
So I used to live on a private lake, and during COVID we had jet skis, right? I was like, my dream growing up was like, I want to live on a lake and I want to have jet skis and whatever. So COVID happens, we get our jet skis, we have them for a year. They start having problems, and we're like, let's get rid of the jet skis, no problem. Sell the jet skis. So now I'm on a lake and with nothing to do. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll start fishing. So I called up my grandpa, who was big into fishing. I asked if I could get one of his rods. So I get like a spinning rod.
You got a nice one.
Shimano. It was nice, yeah.
Didn't
know anything about fishing. Didn't think to look up on YouTube what to do. And I go out there, and it's got a little crankbait on it. I'm like, all right, so I'm throwing a crankbait. Keep getting hung up in the grass. I'm like, this is stupid. Not catching any fish. So I was like, I had the brilliant idea. I was like, well, if the crankbait is getting stuck in the grass, I need to keep it above the grass. So I'm going to attach a bobber to the line. So
not a bad idea.
Right? It only goes so deep, right? So that's what I did.
So the building blocks were there. He's analytical.
Yeah.
Didn't catch nothing. So one Saturday, I think it was, I run up to the gas station, fill up the work truck, and I see the wrap truck, Mission Fishing over here. And I called my buddy, kind of as a joke. I was like, dude, check this out. Send him a picture, like Mission Fishing bass fishing charters. I never heard of a bass fishing charter before. Always heard of deep sea charters. That's cool. I never thought of a bass fishing one. So I sent it to my friend, my roommate at the time. I was like, dude, I wonder if we could catch some fish with this guy. 10 minutes later, I called Paul and I was like, hey, do you do bass fishing charters? Yeah. Like, do you teach people how to fish? He's like, that's exactly what I do. I was like, great, because I live on this lake and I can't catch a fish at all out of it. So
I asked him what lake.
I was like, what lake is it? It's like, oh, it's Lake McCoy right here in Apopka.
Yeah.
And he lives like 5 minutes from me. Like, oh, that's cool. And then he proceeds to tell me that he's been kicked off of my lake four times.
In 12 years. Because the lake is so exclusive. Like, there's no public ramp. It's all homeowners. The first time I got kicked off, my oldest daughter, who's 25, was 4, and I wanted to fish it so bad. I went up and knocked on this door, and this old man answered. And I was like, "Can I take my daughter fishing?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." We stepped off of his property line onto his neighbor's, and she called the police.
What the hell?
So the police showed up, and I was like, "I didn't know," and they're like, "Nope, you have to leave." I'm like, "I'm here with my daughter." They're like, "We don't care."
Yep.
Okay. So I got kicked off. Then another time I tried to put a canoe on, they kicked me off. I tried to sneak through the bushes one time through like the Weir Skimmer area. They kicked me off. So when he said Lake McCoy, I'm like, "I'm coming over."
Yeah, he's like, "What are you doing right now?" I got nothing. Literally 15 minutes later, he's at my house. My roommate, we're all down by the lake, and I was like, "Yeah, I got this rod. Don't know what to do." And Paul brings his rod, and
I just hooked some stuff up for him and gave him a bunch of tackle. And I was like, "Dude, I just want to get out here." So my brother-in-law, the one that I fished with in the Keys, that I took fishing, that started, the whole mission fishing thing, he came out. It was him, myself, and Brandon. We took my boat out there, and we caught 5 fish in like an hour and a half. And he was like, "There are fish in here." Yeah, there's fish in here. And then I think it was the following Saturday, we took him out to where we fish now, and Garrett and I, my brother-in-law, basically put on a Senko clinic.
Crushed it. It was like over 30, and I'm just sitting in the back of the boat, like my mind is blown. I'm like, well, this is what fishing is like, right? And then we connected on like the social media thing. I pretty good with social media. Paul is not.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I'll tell you what, I'll do your social media if you tell me how to teach me how to fish. And so it was like every weekend after that, we went out.
Yeah.
I'd do some filming, some social media stuff for him, and then he'd teach me how to fish. And after it was like best friends after.
Yeah. And
that's a fair deal.
Right?
Yeah. And like after like the first year, we kind of were in a unique position where we were thick in the industry. So we were around a lot of pros, and he was filming on guys' boats. And so he got to see stuff that I didn't even know happened. And it was pretty cool. But once we got out of that, we kind of had our own deal that we wanted to do. And we discussed it before we even got into that other situation, that like one of these days we're going to have to do this. And that's kind of come to fruition since November.
Yeah.
So we're actually filming a TV show now. We have a lot of footage. It depends on how the production team breaks it down, because it's a lot of faith. They come out, they film with us, they take it all home, and then they send us stuff. And it
looks really good.
Hell yeah.
It's been a blast. We've got to do some stuff that you'd never.
Yeah.
I mean, we went down to what was that? Lake Ida.
Yeah. Oh, that place is awesome.
Yeah, which is like where Paul kind of grew up. Is like.
Yeah, I went to high school in Palm Beach, and we lived in Chevy Chase, but it's Lake Ida Estates, and my house was 2 blocks from that lake. And at the time when I lived there, it was all domestic, and we were just starting to see iguanas there. Now it's just overrun with clown knife and peacock. And so we went there. This guy catches. It's funny. The whole time we're talking about this trip and planning, I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna catch peacock fish. We're gonna catch peacock bass, but maybe we'll catch a clown knife."
That's what I really want.
Oh yeah,
a clown knife.
So we go down there, can't buy a peacock, and he's scoping and catches a clown knife fish. So
what'd that look like on forward facing sonar?
It was a bit. It was just a big mark. I'm thinking it's. I mean, supposedly there's a lot of tilapia and stuff in there, so and they're everywhere.
It could have been anything.
I was like, at this point, we hadn't caught a fish yet.
Yeah,
so this is our first day. We've been out there for like 3 or 4 hours. We can't catch anything. So I'm seeing this mark, and I got my my Nico rig. I was like, that's a big mark. Cast it at it. The wind kind of blows me off track, so I miss it, and I just get blasted, dude. The biggest hit that I've ever felt up to that point. And I was like, oh, it's a giant. I'm thinking it's like a 10-pound peacock, and which I know is
Yeah, that
pretty
would
hard
be-
to come by. But anyway, in my head, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. This is amazing. I'm reeling it in, and I see it flop out, dude, and it's a clown knife, which is like, everyone's like, oh, we're probably not going to catch any clown knife. They're real hard to catch. And I hooked into one, dude. It bent the hook out. Again, we're scrambling for the night, for the net.
Yeah.
And it was just chaos.
The coolest part is the production guys were all on the boat with us. And we had 2 boats there because we had both boats down there. So we got some great angles of this and just amazing, right? And then we did barramundi fishing.
Oh, yeah.
There's 2 places in the world you can do that. One is Australia, and then the other one is Osceola Outback. Shout out to Byron Hennessy. That place is phenomenal. And they have 3 different ponds. They call it Fish to Pit. One lake is like the tiny ones. And when I say tiny
is like what, 4 to 7 pounds?
Yeah. And then they have the medium size, which is like 10 to 12, 10 to 15.
Still
and then
big.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
And then the monsters. And funny enough, I caught one on a lure. He caught one on a lure, but no one else could get him on lures. So the guy that was our guide, Mike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I got a trick. And he took a cork from a wine bottle and cut it, and then cut small pieces, and then would take handfuls of the fish food and throw it in, and you cast right on top of that. And these fish would come up and swallow that cork, and you just set the hook.
Holy crap.
They're in the snook family, so they fight like beasts, dude. They jump, chop, chop. And it was super exciting. We were out there 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Caught one after the next.
This place was so cool. Like, so I'll fly the drone up to get some drone footage, and it looked like that scene from The Matrix where all the Sentinels are flying into Zion.
Oh, yeah.
It's just these groups and schools, but like thousands of them.
They said there was like 7,000 fish in this lake, and you could literally walk up and kick the outflow pipe, just like dum, 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 and you would see them, and it would literally move the water, and you could just see the shadow coming at you. And then you look off the dock, and there's thousands of these barramundi around you.
Crazy.
So just a super cool experience. But the show itself is not like, it's not something we plan to do. And then Brandon and I have had a lot of conversations back and forth because we don't want to do like a standard hook set show, because mission fishing is more than that.
Yeah.
We do the Dreams Come True tournament, which is an event that's done in Palaca, Florida, where they raise money for these terminally ill kids that aren't, maybe some of them C18, maybe some of them don't. And these are kids with heart issues, brain tumors, lung issues, bone cancer, blood disorders. And we donated charters to that so that they could raffle these charters off, and then they take all that money and they put it into these kids. And then the other event we just did last Saturday, it's called Cops and Bobbers. We've been doing that for 4 years. Cops and Bobbers is the school resource officers, the elementary school resource officers here for the local police department, the Apopka Police Department. They pick 5 kids from each of the schools, and they bring them out. And then like Dick's Sporting Goods, Costa, us, there's different companies that come in and sponsor. And what happens is those kids come out, and then they get a prize pack. Every kid takes something home, but they also have a contest. It's like the most species, the biggest fish, and then
was it most, biggest, and most fish overall.
Yeah. So 3 kids take home like a grand prize, and man, just amazing.
That's awesome.
Kids who typically would never get a rod in their hand, kids whose parents may not take them fishing or don't have the economic or socioeconomic position to put them on the water other than like standing on the bank of a lake or something. These kids come out, and it's just amazing. So that's what we do. We want to give back. So Brandon and I talking about it, that's what the show should be, right? So it's more of a humanity piece. And when people get on the deck of the boat, especially when you're on a 4-hour charter, it's not just fishing. It's the hang.
Yeah. Hanging out, chilling, talking.
Yeah, the experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing but we have you look on YouTube, 95% of your videos or shows are all just hook set videos.
Right.
And I think fishing needs that good like mix of a good hook set show, giving back to your community, and kind of like seeing showing everybody what fishing is all about.
Right. So there's the travel aspect of it. There's the food aspect of it, because when you're traveling, you're going to stop and eat somewhere.
Oh yeah.
But the biggest thing for us is,
The give back. It's like it's different for everybody. Like what fishing means, right? So what fishing means to me is different from you to Paul. It's different for everybody, but it means something. And on a psychological level, it can be very deep. Like I know fishing's changed Paul's life.
yeah.
It's had a huge impact on my life. Like,
Oh yeah.
and people forget that because they get into social media and it's a competition. But
Right.
people forget like the psychology behind why we all love to do this, and that's what we want to remind people of. Because like peel back the layers a little bit, it's life changing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for me anyway.
So I grew up in a really rough situation, and there was not a lot. I surfed, and then we lived in Jacksonville, so you had St. John's River. So we shrimped, we fished for trout, we fished for reds. Before I lived in Jacksonville, I lived in Fort Pierce. My grandfather used to take us fishing for black drum and snook and things like that. But when you're out on the boat when you're a kid, you got the big class 1 PFD.
Yeah.
Until you're 13, you can't take that off. So that was like the worst. I didn't want any part of that, because I just hated stuff touching my neck, and it's Florida, so it's hot.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, surfing was my escape, but surfing has its own, just like anything, it has its own set of, like, the subcultures there. And
Oh yeah.
so I kind of turned to drugs and alcohol in my early teenage years. I was in a children's home for 2 years. I didn't stay home, but when I moved down with my dad is a huge fly fisherman. And when I was in high school, he used to ask me, "Hey, do you want to go? We're going to go tarpon fishing." And I would be like, "Nope." "Hey, I'm going fishing for permit with this guy. Do you want to go?" "Nope." I always would tell him no, because I was going surfing or hanging out with my friends or whatever. And then my dad would have these pictures on the wall with him with like a big tarpon or bonefish or permit. And I was like, "Yep, missed that,"
Yeah.
And now I look back and I should have done all that. But hindsight's 2020, and then 9 times out of 10 we're not looking through our good eye. So, but it's just that thing, right? So for me, that when we started breaking down like what should it be about, it's more of a humanities piece. We want to talk about the people, the places. In Florida, this is a Florida only show, but from Destin or Sandestin all the way, right up to Alabama, all the way around, I think it's like 1,300 miles or 1,500 miles of contiguous coast.
Oh yeah.
So all the salt water, and then man, I don't even know how many. There's
Too many.
there's ponds all over.
Oh yeah.
Like, I can walk 5 minutes down the street and I can catch a fish. But that's what we wanted. We want people to understand that, like, it did save my life. It was something that I was able to kind of get away from, but it's faith, family, and fishing, right? And in that order, I'm a big believer in Christ, and it's definitely changed my life. And there's this whole thing that just keeps pushing, and mission fishing was kind of that, the catalyst. And so now we're doing this thing, and everything we see is like, okay.
It's funny how things kind of just like happen. You don't really plan for it, but little things just start happening, and you're like, "Oh wow, that's that's God."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's God.
Exactly.
And before you know it, we're got a production team working on a TV show. It's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's weird. We went through some really cool stuff prior to this. It didn't end well, but no hard feelings. Those people, they have their thing, we have our thing. I have no animosity. I forgive people. In order to kind of walk in faith, you have to kind of look at the situation, and from the empathetic standpoint, everything did what it did for a reason, and I'm happy that I'm where I'm at now. It just wouldn't have played out right, and I got to see enough bad stuff that, like, I don't want to operate that way. So there's like this barrier that I'm like, we'll never cross that.
I think you see that, like we were talking about earlier, I think you see when you're in the industry, you see every side of it. Good,
Yeah.
bad, ugly, all of it.
But the thing that always leaves sort of an indelible mark on my heart, is that the core of the industry is beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful people. There's some great people, and just, people who just want to get out and have a good time. And that's what got them started. They went out just to have a good time, and here they are. And anybody who wants to do what they love, I can never say don't. So, but yeah, we're working hard at it. We're really pushing. It's a lot of long weeks, a lot of long days.
Yeah, but most of the time we're on the water. So
yeah, that's always fun.
So I saw you had some questions, and we actually talked about this before. So hit us with these questions.
First of all,
we got a question for you, though. You said deserted island.
Yes.
Yeah, we need some more specifics on this.
Oh,
is this
man.
in water, or is
Yeah,
this
is
in
this
a
like
lake,
like an island out in the ocean, or are we talking like an island out in Okeechobee or something?
Oh
you know?
man.
What are we talking here?
Yeah, 'cause we have answers for both. But
Yeah, let's say it's a deserted island in Okeechobee.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
That's a big difference.
let's do
there.
both.
I'm down with that.
Okay.
All right.
So if I had one lure and I'm on a deserted island in Okeechobee, it's probably going to be a red Chatsenko.
Yep. That or I'd probably say a speed worm.
Yeah.
Anything like that.
Yeah.
Anything like that would be good.
So that's now, if that's where we're at, then the rod I would bring would be 7-1, medium heavy, 7-1, probably like 12-pound test, fluorocarbon.
I gotta go like 14 or 17 on Okeechobee. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's true.
I'd still go light.
I'd
still go light.
You like to live on the edge, keep it interesting.
I keep my drags. Yeah. Snack, man, I'm gonna have to go with Rolos.
Oh, dude, I love Rolos.
And how long are we stuck there? That's the next question.
Yeah.
Is it like indefinitely? Because I'm gonna need like a whole truck full of Rolos. I'm gonna die of diabetes. But I'm gonna die of diabetes.
Let's say 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah, it would be Rolos.
You can make it. You can make it on 2 weeks on Rolos.
I think you could. I believe in you. 2 weeks on Rolos.
I believe it. Yeah.
Is caramel enough protein to get in the diet?
Maybe. We would find out in the first week. I
feel like that could go really good or really bad.
For me, at my age, it would probably go really bad. But now we're on the salt water. So if we're on an island in the ocean, I'm going to show you the lure. I know I got one.
Dude, I'm sorry my allergies have kicked my ass all week. And
Allergies.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what it's been.
Build up an immunity to allergies, right?
Yeah, I know. Shoot.
So I had one here, but I think Garrett took it with him. But it's a Nomad Squid Trex. And what it is basically is, and they make them up to like...
Yeah, I think the biggest one's like...
Oh, my God.
But my daughter and I got one, and it was small. It was like just under...
Like, what, 2?
No, it was smaller than the one that I could get at Pro Shop. So it was like an inch. But anyway, it has braided line with these little tiny hooks on it. And we were in the Keys, and you could literally drop this thing off the side. I mean, you didn't have to impart action. You just drop it. And we caught, dude,
hogfish,
barracuda.
Are they hogfish or they're French? Something or others? I don't know. They made a sound.
Little mangrove. Yeah. But that's the lure that I would use because you can catch everything. We caught barracuda on this thing. Like everything hit it. It looks just like a squid. The second part of that is it has the bioluminescence. So you could take a flashlight, LED flashlight, and hold on it for like a minute and then throw it in the dark. And man, they would slam it. Everything was getting caught on it. The barracuda wrecked one of them because it bit through the braid that held the hooks on. But bro, that's your lure.
Yeah.
It would be the rod would be a St. Croix Soul.
That works.
Yeah. Um, probably Cortland braid, right? Like
That's
a
awesome,
numbskull
braid.
Cortland. And the reel would probably be what comes on the sole because it was adequate.
Yeah.
The drag was good on it. Yeah, either that or a pin battle. You know what I mean?
Dude,
Like,
those pet battles are beasts, dude.
Yeah. So there's your saltwater. Now, if it's on a saltwater island, what's the snack?
Oh, sushi.
Sushi, bro.
I like that. I could get down with that.
You can make it yourself.
Yeah.
You may not have the rice,
I don't
but you got plenty of nigiri.
I don't
True.
even need to bring it.
Right.
Dude, my fine motor skills would be way too bad to roll sushi myself.
Well, if we're just catching them, you can slice it and just eat it raw.
True.
You know?
That's what I do with that stuff.
And then, yeah, that pretty much covers it. That'd be my snack.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
100%.
That is a great snack.
Yeah.
Snack, meal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, whatever it is.
I probably spend more in sushi than I do on worms lately.
We went on a cruise in January, and they had I feel like we shut down the all you can eat sushi bar. It's
Every day.
we go out there and we leave with 5 boxes, just go back up to the room.
It's like, bring me all the sushi you have in the back.
Yeah.
All of it.
Dude, they would see us coming, and I would see them putting boxes back. Like after the first day, I would see her putting boxes back on the other side because he would take 3 to 5, and I would take 3 to 5, and then we'd be back up to the,
Dude, in college, we had an all-you-can-eat sushi joint. It was the same thing. One of my buddies used to go in there and eat, I swear, 20 to 25 rolls. It was like an unhealthy amount of sushi.
Easy.
No such thing.
Oh, yeah, there is no such thing as that.
The other one, the other question, the other thing that I saw you put on there, this is probably not as big for him, but I've been playing guitar since I was 10 years old. So music for me is huge, and my taste in music is wildly eclectic.
Same here.
Yeah, I listen to everything from Miles Davis to Gojira. And then country music. I love Charlie Pride. Kenny
crazy.
Rogers.
Yeah, we'll be driving down to the lake, and it'll go from Gojira to some Mexican guitarist from 50 years ago.
Francisco Torrega.
Yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
What?
So he's like, what
random.
is that? That's Capriccio Arabe. It's an amazing piece, And so for me, if I had a top 5 Spotify playlist, number 1 would probably be Soundgarden, Rooms 1,000 Years Wide.
Rooms 1,000 Years Wide?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the name of it. That's the chorus anyway. And then number 2 would probably be Periphery, Absalom.
Let's see.
That's a
great dang!
song.
Somebody already had Rooms 1,000 Year Wide on there.
That's a jam, dude. There's a part where the guitar sounds like a siren. It's just like this alarming sort of sound. And then number 3 would probably be Shutters and Boards by Charlie Pride. I love that song. That was something my grandpa used to listen to a lot when I was a kid. There was always Charlie Pride playing when we were at his house. And number 4, that's a tough one. Rosemary by the Deftones.
Okay.
That's one. And then number 5 would be Muddy Waters. Muddy Waters. Anything Muddy Waters. Yeah. What do you got?
I got, let's see. I'm putting yours in. So what was your second one?
Periphery, Absalom.
Periphery. All right. That was the only one I didn't have. Absalom.
That's a great song. It's long. There was a time in rock and roll where an 11-minute song was the standard.
Oh, yeah.
And then it went away.
Let's see what I had. Dude, that's the old Leonard Skinner songs. Dude.
Yeah.
A bunch of them.
Or Led Zeppelin or Dio or let's see. Dude, Mastodon. Mastodon used to put out some cuts that were just You finish listening to it, and your kids were grown up.
Yeah. Oh,
You want to tell what's your
let's see what I got. I have
Looking for it.
I have Gulf of Mexico by Leftover Salmon.
That's
Ohio by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
That's a great song.
Dirty Work by Steely Dan.
I love Steely Dan, dude. I that probably should have been in my top 5. What's the one? Tied to the Mast.
Yeah.
Home at Last by Steely Dan is probably one of my favorite songs of all time, and it harkens back to the Odyssey, right? And that's
dude,
that's a.
I was rewatching some of The Sopranos the other day, and you remember the part where I think it was Tony's driving down the road and he's singing that song.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a great song. I started listening to it again.
Yeah.
And then I had Turtles All the Way Down by Sturgill Simpson.
Never heard that.
Dude, Sturgill Simpson's the man.
Yeah.
And then Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really get into Dylan too much. But it's only because I like the Rolling Stones, and I probably, should have been listening to some Dylan too. But his kid had a great band, and they were cool for a little bit.
Oh yeah. Dude, you ever listen to Billy Strings?
Now, come on, give us something.
Yeah, you can give us stuff.
I'm more like a podcast guy, but I'll go through phases like I'll do like a Linkin Park, I guess. Would be
I loved Linkin Park.
Is right now, yeah. In the end, takes me back to high school.
Yeah, same here. That was elementary school for me.
I like I forget what album it's called, but they have an album that is like 45 minutes long, but if you play it all the way through, it's like one song.
Huh.
Like the songs kind of run into each other.
Yeah.
So that whole album is really good. I'll go from that to I like Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, he's the man.
His national anthem, I think, is the best.
Hands down, probably one of the best ones.
Oh yeah, is that the one where Nick Sirianni was crying?
Everyone was crying.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so beautiful. But he's the man. I don't know. I'll just play like bands. I don't have like a specific song, but I'll just play one band all the way through. Breaking Benjamin,
yeah.
Shine Down. I know he's like shaking his head. He's like, this guy has no culture.
Listen, here's what I'll say. I think Breaking Benjamin is genius, right? Because people are like, oh, it all sounds the same. Right, it all sounds the same. When you go to McDonald's, you're getting McDonald's. When you play Breaking Benjamin, you're getting Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah.
Right? And it's good. It's not bad. Chevelle's another band like that too. Chevelle's pretty good. But because I played guitar, praise and worship is where I started playing guitar. So all those songs are they're there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you like good guitar, like go listen to Billy Strings.
Yeah. I think I've heard the name, but I've never really listened to it. But it's only because I get caught. I'll throw Gojira on the way to the lake, and then I'm the whole way there.
It's like,
and then like today on the way home, I just hit random, and I was getting like there was some Fleetwood Mac on.
I love Fleetwood Mac.
Just all kinds of stuff. And then my wife is really funny. She does not want to hear not one song that has like the guitar. She doesn't want to hear it. So I say forced. I willingly put on Yacht Rock on Pandora.
Yeah. There's some Yacht Rock that I do like. The Doobie Brothers.
Dude, Doobie Brothers are great. Minute by Minute's one of my favorite songs. But I don't. It was really popular when I was a little kid, and that's Christopher Cross, Sailing. But now everything Christopher Cross, I'm like, skip. Jerry Rafferty, bro. Jerry Rafferty's the man. Good stuff. I love it. Baker Street, amazing song. The whole Night Owl album, which if you're watching this podcast, you're like, who's this geezer?
I have no idea who these people are.
Dude,
But the Steelers wheels, dude. That's where Jerry Rafferty got. What's the name of the song? Stuck in the Middle with You. You've heard that song. It was on Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Great
or
movie.
Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, man, we have a lot of friends in common. John is such a great guy.
Dude, awesome guy.
Yeah, and he's actually the guy. Like, my dad should have been the one to teach me to fly fish, and I'm sure tried where I was like, but it's only because he was so critical of my golf game that I was like, I don't even want him to teach that.
That's what I work at a golf course during the morning.
I just told him a story about taking my dad golfing on Father's Day, and it did not go well for me.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
Oh, dude, I'm not good either. We have the PGA championship in town right now.
Yeah, don't even go down there. They can spot you a mile away. Bad golfer.
Yep. I'm like sitting down there in like Sims shorts and like a ratty old polo. They're like, that dude plays golf maybe once every month.
Yeah. Well, the last time I played was at a course here in Claremont called Green Valley, and I shot like a 130 something. I sold my clubs to my buddy the next day. I was like, and then I took the money and actually bought fishing equipment. So
that's not bad. I actually play. I play because I get to play at courses for free. I'll play with my little brother some, and I still suck. My brother's better than me.
Yeah.
But dude, John's the man.
Yeah, he's the guy that taught me to fly fish, and he and I went out on my lake. And he had just started tying these like foam frogs.
Yeah, the iguanas.
Well, no, this was pre-iguana. And, dude, the guy can throw a 120-foot cast without false casting. Like, he does not – he's like, false casting's made for idiots.
That's a great impersonation.
Dude, the guy – he's one of my favorite people. We met – he was working at a bait shop when I first started, and I thought shiners was how I was going to do it. And I had a couple of days on shiners where I was like, this is just bogus. And he and I got to be good friends. And when he left that tackle shop and went, I didn't even know that he had gone to Bass Pro Shops, but it was like such a perfect fit for him because he runs the White River Fly Shop inside Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah.
And bro, this guy knows fly fishing. Like, it's a language.
It's insane.
Like, yeah, he's so good at what he does. But like, he would strip off line, and I'm watching him. And we're on the deck of a bass boat. There's trolling motors. There's cleats. Bro, you're gonna be hung around the handles of my rods. And he's like, nah.
And it's one cast, and
and
you're sitting there. You're like, what the heck?
How'd he do that?
Yeah.
And then he's stripping it back, and then he'll see like fish over here, and he'll and let that go, and he's 120 foot that way, and you're like, so I still aspire to cast like that. I do false cast.
I do too.
I'm one of those idiots.
I remember when I fished them the first time. A tarpon came up, ate my fly, decent one, and I trout set. He's like, "Don't fucking trout set!" Screaming it.
We're going to the Keys. We've been down probably 4 or 5 times now. At least a good 3 times. This year, we're trying to get set up with this guy. He's a young guy, and I want to go backcountry tarpon fishing with this guy. And I'm taking a 10-weight Lamson, and I'm taking a 9-weight St. Croix, and we're just going to go do it. I had one hooked right outside the resort where we were staying, but it was just a juvenile.
Yeah.
There was mullet running, and I just happened to get lucky, and this thing hit it, and I, pulled, and immediately it just burns my hand. So I let go. This thing just takes off. There's no tension, and then it jumps and like looks at me and goes,
"See ya."
Yeah. And I'm like, dang it. But I'm hoping this year to get one over 100 pounds. I really, really want that. That's like my bucket list this year, is to get a big tarpon on fly.
If you guys are ever over near the Crystal River area, I know a guy that I could probably hook you up with. That dude's the tarpon master of the Crystal Coast.
Really?
Yeah.
anytime you say tarpon and master in the same sentence,
That
I wanna
dude,
know.
Trey, that boy Trey,
Yeah,
Trey,
what's his last?
Trey McKell.
Okay,
He's a young guy, dude. That dude, he's red drum
dude,
and tarpon. That dude is insane.
it's crazy that you say that.
Trey is like the angler's name.
So remember I was telling you the kid that caught the dude? We had a kid catch a grass carp on a whopper plopper, and his name was Trey Hayton.
65 pounds.
Yeah, huge dude, big, massive grass carp on a whopper plopper. And I've been fishing there for years. I fish whopper ploppers all the time. This kid comes out, and his mom, weirdly enough, did not fish the whole time. She sat in the boat and was like, "Get him, Trey. Tear him up, Trey." And this kid caught like 36 fish. I had a swim bait. It was like a bluegill that that Brandon Schmelbeck made for me from Hell Creek Lures. And I fished it twice, never caught anything on it. This kid's like, "Oh, can I fish with that?" I'm like, "If you catch a fish on it, you can have it." And like second cast, this kid catches a 5-pound bass on it. I'm like,
There goes that swim bait.
well, I didn't, I never fished with it, but the kid's name sounded like something you'd hear at a weigh-in. With 37 pounds, 5 ounces, Trey Hayton. And the funny thing is this kid was, at the time, I think he was 12 or 13. What's 8th grade? Anyway,
Yeah,
he got invited to the bass. He got invited to fish in the Bassmaster High School event. So it was like, and dude, this kid threw everything and was just on his game. Threw a jig, threw the swim bait, was throwing crankbaits, was throwing rattle traps, spinner baits. He caught on everything he threw.
Damn. That's where I met Logan Parks. I'm still good buddies with Logan. Yeah. I met him at the high school nationals my senior year, and we've stayed in contact ever since.
Yeah. So that goes back to what we're talking about. Fishing just has this thing where, like, it doesn't matter if everything you have in common with that person is good or whatever. The one artery being fishing is enough that you're like, we're cool.
Oh yeah.
But you can slap my grandma. We're cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he fished. Yeah, he slapped your grandma. That's all right. I'll get him back later. We're going fishing.
Yeah, I'll smack him in the back of the neck.
Yeah, I'll accidentally take his hat off with a hook. But yeah, man, we appreciate you giving us a shout. And look for the show. It's called Mission Fishing. We're hoping to release. Well, we have kind of 2 plans, but right now I think we're solid for 2026. But we have a little surprise thing that, like, I probably shouldn't even bring up.
So no, probably shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Just make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere social media.
TikTok.
Heck yeah.
It's not Twitter anymore.
It's X. It's X, dude. Wake up, boomer. I'm kidding.
My favorite thing about X is like all the Elon Musk posts and all the Donald Trump posts. I love it. It's great. It's just like watching the mayhem unfold. I'm having so much fun watching.
Dude, the whole thing on X now is you got these kids that create burner accounts and just say the most outrageous things. I love it.
One of my favorites is Steve Inman. I don't know if you know who that is. The guy that does all the crime stuff where they show like, people like on a moped in Brazil pull up and try and steal this lady's purse, and she like shoots him. He'll say stuff like, "Hey, with the wireless hole puncher, send them back to the Matrix."
Oh man,
Matrix. Like those are my favorite videos, and like the stupid fight videos. I mean, that sounds okay. You got me. I'm a little barbaric when I watch some of this stuff, but it's funny.
It is funny. Shane Gillis, that's another golden.
Oh, dude, and Bad Friends.
Yes. Yeah. But any other plugs you guys want to put out there?
Evolve Fishing, Rapid Fishing Solutions, Right Height,
Miko
Lures. Dude, if you guys don't have, and these are salt and freshwater baits, they work amazing. We catch big fish on them, use them as trailers for chatterbaits, trailers on
swim
jigs, trailers on spinner baits, but they're just as effective in the salt water on just a regular jig head. And they do have the bioluminescence. Man, A lot. St. Croix.
St.
St. Croix is
7,
huge, man.
yeah.
Their 7 reels are amazing.
I know you got Bahio, but we got to shout out Hobie.
That's all
Yeah,
good.
We love us some Hobies.
Yeah, they're good, man. I mean, the name Hobie, growing up surfing, it's been there forever. You know, they were the sailboards, and then the kayaks are amazing too, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I really can't fish for any length of time. Like, I can't do more than like a couple hours sitting down. It just tears my back up. But their kayaks are great.
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable. Garmin, thank you. Not that you gave us anything except the experience. It's just we're having so much fun with that right now. And I would tell everyone out there, if you get a chance to go and do it and play with it and learn it, it is so much fun, and you will not be sorry. You'll not be sorry. And everyone, stop hating. Stop hating.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun.
I
That's
second
what we
that.
do. You know, if you're on the water and you're upset, get off the water.
Put it on the trailer and go the hell home if you're upset on the water.
Oh,
Just enjoy it, man.
Yeah.
Enjoy the time.
but yeah, thanks, man. We appreciate it. And everybody, keep an eye out. There'll be some stuff coming out. I know we've got an event coming up in July.
Yeah, there's this big convention, I think.
Yeah.
It's, like
I forget what
ICAST
it's
or
called. That's it.
Yeah, something like that.
So we're doing a
We'll be
little
around.
something like the first night. So if you're down, if you're in this area, give us a shout because we've got something for you.
I'm trying to get down there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
But
get
if you
John
do-
to pull some strings.
Yeah. John is actually, I know John is actually going to be at the event with us.
Sweet.
I know for sure he is.
I'll probably honestly just end up going down there and staying with him, and either
Yeah.
way, going over to your guys' event.
We're doing days on the water all week that week, where if you're down and you get a hold of us and you're here for ICAST or whatever, we'll put you on. We'll take you out. And
We already got days are limited though.
Okay.
So,
we know one of our good friends is going to be here, and that's the 15th. And then I know we've got the 16th pretty much wrapped up too. But yeah, just
I'll shoot y'all a text,
yeah, for sure.
and then I hope if I catch a big one tomorrow, I'll send you a picture of it.
Yeah, for sure.
always.
But thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna have to stop this, and then it's gonna upload all the stuff. So we'll have to sit on the screen for a second, and then we'll be good to go.
And just let us know when it airs so I can tell my dad. And
Okay, I will. I'll tag you. I'll do like a little snippet thing for Instagram. I'll collaborate with y'all on that, and
yeah, for sure.
it should be going out at 7:30 or 8. So
Okay.
I'll let you know how to go pick up a real estate sign with my girlfriend. So maybe a little later than 8.
If you can find some really good Japanese jerk baits.
Sounds good. But
I don't know how plentiful those are.
what's up, guys? That was Paul and Brandon from Mission Fishing. That was a great episode. A lot of information, a lot of insight. That just an all around good episode, even if it was mostly a bass fishing episode. Awesome stuff. Talked a little fly fishing stuff in Florida. But a lot of good insight on how they feel about forward facing sonar. If you're in the bass fishing world, that is the age old argument these days is for or against forward facing sonar. Personally, I could care less about it. Have it or not. The guys that have it and catch them are still going to catch them without forward facing sonar. So they're not only catching them because they have forward facing sonar, but so the guys like Logan Parks, I think Trey McKinney, who else? Rob G. All those guys, they're going to catch them without forward-facing sonar anyway. So the guys that are kind of complaining about it, there's two sides to it. If you want to complain about it, go out and buy it. A lot of these guys don't get it for free. But we'll get into some events going on this weekend. You got the this is one for Saturday, June 21st. Beetlefest 2025 at Orvis in Greenville, South Carolina. Check that out. There's something going on at the Reedy River. Tie beetlefly, head out and fish the Reedy, and sorry, I'm reading the little thing. Pick up a few pieces of trash along the way, and then the biggest fish at the end of the day wins a prize. That's pretty cool. That might be something I try and go and participate in, because honestly, that is a super cool concept. Again, that's June 21st, so check that out. Another big thing going on this weekend is the French Broad River cleanup, which is with Headwaters Outfitters. I'll give you the exact time and date. It is tomorrow. And then, let me see. There's the after party at Forks of the River Tap Room over there at Headwaters Outfitters. So go and check that out. It's from 2 to 4. And got food trucks over there from local food trucks. Go up, support that. Going to be an awesome event with those guys. Awesome people over there at Headwaters. Thought I saw one more event that I may have saved. Let's see. There was another one I thought I saved somewhere here. I may not have. But if there is another one, I'll post about it. So that's all we got for this week. Thank you guys for listening. I'll put all of the social links for Paul and all them in the show notes. And hope you enjoyed the episode. If you enjoy all this stuff, just like and subscribe. Thank you, and I will see you guys Tuesday.